let me introduce myself, and I think we'll use this conference to talk about some of the themes that have been talked about. We'll talk a lot about AI and machine learning. We'll talk about obesity drugs, and we'll talk about value-based care. And I think these are probably the hot themes in healthcare. So I'll give you a little background about Emerald, what we do, and who I am. So I am at Emerald BioVentures, and Emerald is a couple things. It's a venture incubator. So we do early stage incubation, following through Series A, Series B. We're a private equity firm, and we've had a number of companies where we've taken public, a couple companies where we've done early stage venture rounds. We partner with some of the larger private equity firms in the country and larger family offices. Our model is to put several $1 million into a company on our own. And then because a lot of the principals at Emerald are former investment bankers, scientists, ultra high net worth people, we know how to syndicate deals. So we get companies ready to syndicate, then we'll partner with some of the top venture capital firms in the country, the top private equity firms in the country, syndicate and take a company public. The portfolio is different flavors. It's on the biotechnology side. It's across multiple therapeutic categories: CNS, immuno-oncology, rare, orphan, multiple phases, pre-IND, IND, clinical, and we have a number of companies with commercial drugs with large market opportunities. On the other side of the house, which is sort of HCIT and services, we have a number of companies that are doing online pharmacy, various services, software providing, and more private equity type things, commercial drugs with, large debt facilities, things like that. The portfolio also ranges across different phases. As I said, a lot of it's in the incubation phase. We have about 15, 16 portfolio companies. Several of the companies are in Series A, Series B. Several of the companies are in the IPO queue right now. Our most recent IPO, we put several $1 million into a company. We reverse merged it into a NASDAQ vehicle that was cash rich, and helped syndicate that deal and put a $185 million pipe on it. So, we think our sweet spot is putting a couple $1 million into a company and then turning that company into something that is sort of north of 500 million and below. And we're probably exiting at that stage. And we've had a number of successes. So my background is I've spent most of my career as an investment banker in healthcare, specifically healthcare M&A and capital markets. Worked at firms like Jefferies, Bank of America, Ladenburg, and have been doing the family office for a couple of years now. So I thought I'd use the opportunity to not necessarily talk about specific portfolio companies because we don't have a lot of time, but to maybe talk about a couple themes in healthcare. So I think the three topics that people probably are most interested in is artificial intelligence and machine learning, obesity and engaged consumer, and value-based care, and how the three of these things interrelate and what the future of healthcare looks like with those three paradigms. So let's spend a little time on artificial intelligence. Looking at the clock here. Okay. So machine learning started in about 2018 with a couple entrants and was limited due to computing power. Over the last couple of years, you'll see that we've expanded, obviously, in computing power and number of companies. So things are evolving and moving forward. AI is evolved in basically three buckets. The 50s to the 80s was, initial artificial intelligence, where you used it for gaming, checkers, chess, really didn't have a lot of commercial capability or expertise. The next evolution was 80s to call it 2015, in which you sort of started to beget a little bit of practical applications. Things that we see every day is your email system, right? So assigning rules, sending out, various information, SAS, and then sorting, getting your email to go into the right boxes. The next phase is deep learning, which is basically replicating neural networks and layered approaches to come to a better, more robust decision-making. AI in healthcare, I don't have to tell you, huge opportunity. I think it's probably around 15 billion at this point. Good conservative estimate of where it's going is probably about 300 million by 2030. That's about a 60%, 55% CAGR from here. So let's look at this page. It's a little small, but I'll walk you through it. Yeah. I'm sorry? The slides are covered. Okay. I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay. Is that better? I don't know what that box is on the bottom there. I don't know how to get rid of the top box. All right, we'll have to go with there. I'll make this slide presentation available after. So this is an overview of the landscape of AI, and it's small, and there are pages that go through more detail. So it's primarily in three buckets on the non-therapeutic side. You have the consumer-facing elements of AI. You have the middle bucket, which is clinical operations and point of care, and then what I call the administrative and back office. So where AI is very effective is really in bucket three, which is the reimbursement and corporate functions, coding, talent management, insurance, and we're sort of in the mid phase of adoption there. Consumer, understanding how to best engage with consumers, point of care. We're in the middle phases where AI is not very good, and what we'll talk about later is in clinical operations, hospital operations, emergency department, critical decision-making. That is the next stage of evolution. I'll read you this quote from Microsoft. So this is where Microsoft thinks we're going. Advances in AI have the potential to transform many aspects of healthcare, enabling a future that is more personalized, precise, predictive, and portable. The application of such technologies truly have the potential to release time and care back to healthcare professionals, enabling them to focus on what matters to their patients, the future leveraging of a global democratized data set of assets comprising the highest levels of human knowledge to work with the limits of science to deliver a common high standard of care wherever is needed. So if you take that to the extreme, it means that eventually a lot of the doctors that are in the frontline area come out of the loop. So if you listen to Klein or Perkins and John Doerr thinks in a number of years, 50% of the doctors and nurses that you'll see in hospitals are gone. A lot of care can be determined, just like you can go on WebMD and do self-diagnosis. A lot of care can be determined by AI. And then you can route those doctors, route those nurses to where they are critically needed, where decisions are harder, where care is more important. That frees up a lot of patient access. That frees up hospitals to make more money, improve margins, improve efficiencies. I'm sorry? You're going to start seeing the effects of it probably within the next 5-6 years, right?
I bet a dollar that there will be no loss in nursing and doctor women outside of retirement.
No, because the resources will. I think that's right, but more importantly, the care, the point of AI and technology is the care goes to where it's needed. So if it's needed in retirement settings, more care goes there. You take a nurse out of an administrative function, out of managing an ER input system. You put him or her somewhere where it's needed. So,
I mean, the average PCP sees 35 patients in a day, so it'll free up more time to enable a higher quality.
Well, to write notes, because you're not writing, no doctors are writing notes right now.
Right. So, it's about enhancing care and using data to provide better care and better treatment, and that lowers costs.
I want to make another $1.
Sure.
Which is that people will get AI fatigue the same way they have phone customer service messaging fatigue. Right?
Well,
They'll recognize it and they won't feel any comfort from it, and they will just be dying to hear a doctor say you're going to be okay, rather than AI say that.
well, a lot of
There you go.
Versus you have an empathetic AI app, and you tap it, and Doc AI comes on and goes, "Hey, why are you blinking when?"
I have some thoughts about empathetic.
So what we're talking about is not the AI that you're going to see, right? What we're talking about is someone calling into a call center and talking to a computer. The AI that we're talking about here is seamless. You won't know the AI is there. You'll go into a hospital, you'll get blood samples, you'll get work done, and the AI is delivering the care behind the scenes. You're still interacting with providers. It's just more efficient and more effective. And that's where we're heading. So let's look at an example, right? So if we went back a few years ago and you wanted to be a London cab driver, there's 60,000 streets in central London and 100,000 places of interest. And before that's what you needed to do, right? Then came Garmin, right? And then came Uber. And when you program Garmin and Uber into a well-labeled data set with bounded optimization, the Garmin beats the cab driver every single time. Does it faster, does it cheaper, every single time. Now, if you jumble the streets up and you remove the names, the Garmin is useless, right? So I give this example because it's talking about the limits of AI where it currently is and where it can go. So a lot of people look at AI and they say, okay, drug discovery, all these things, that's hard, right? So if we go to this page, right, there are 10 to 60 possible combinations of drug-like molecules. AI can't handle that. What AI can handle is the diagnosis. So they set this up in Israel. And they said, okay, let's look at 100,000 patients, 85,000 patients, and let's run the AI on all of those patient data in the hospital. How accurate is the AI? Well, pretty surprising, right? 85%, 90%, 60%. And they asked the doctors, do you agree with the AI diagnosis? And overwhelmingly, the AI got it right and generally got it more right. So why is that important? Elimination of human error, right? You could still have the people in the loop to previous points, but the AI is checking and preventing the human error. So that I think gets us to where AI is not working and what the future is. So we talked about this a little bit. Drug discovery, predicting clinical trial results, and at this point in time, competing with doctors and hospitals, right? It's a tool for use with doctors and hospitals. So where are the opportunities, right? Building fundamental models in biology and medicine specific to functions like kidney functions, disease, using AI diagnosis in conjunction with people in the loop to have accurate prediction models. This saves time, it saves money, it saves misdiagnosis, it says running unnecessary tests, and predictive healthcare, which saves everyone money, including the government. And then, like we talked about, where it is effective right now, back office, paperwork, insurance, things like that. Given the time, I thought we'd sort of roll through a couple other interesting topics. So everyone's favorite topic, I think, is obesity. And all these relate, I'll tie everything back in the end. So obesity drugs have had a profound effect on, I think, the world and the healthcare market. One, there's real effects happening. Two, it's contributed to some of the highest valuations in healthcare right now and the highest revenue forecasts. And three and four, it's contributed to some of the highest level of consumer interest in these companies and drugs. And obviously, we're seeing extraordinary success, but there are drawbacks, and we'll go through the current generation of drawbacks and what the future of this market is. This is an interesting page just for, giggles, right? We're looking at sort of all the large pharma on the right-hand side. 700 billion with a B is contributed, for Lilly, 500 billion for Novo. And the interesting thing is that all of the blockbuster categories from before, immuno-oncology, immunology, rare disease, those are huge numbers. We're talking 60, 70, 100 billion per company, but they pale in comparison to obesity. So what does this mean? It means go big or go home. It also means the evolution of pharma from a payer business to a consumer-facing business, so creating larger companies that are more tailored to consumers. So we don't have time to spend a lot on this page, but the future of GLP and weight loss is addressing a lot of the issues with GLP right now. That is the ineffectiveness of it after a while. People eat through it, and then they gain the weight back. They lose muscle mass. So the evolution in the drug is moving towards GPR75, nuclear receptor modulators, GIP inhibitors. All these things do is increase muscle mass, maintain muscle mass, and also keep drug active and working. And the effect is far beyond weight loss. There are massive cardiovascular longevity effects. And the interesting thing where I bring up GLP-1 is sort of this example. So if we use the Botox market as an analog, Botox right now is a $4.3 billion market. It's probably going to hit 13, 14 billion by 2035. Most of the Botox market is private pay. People are willing to pay $150 per month for the drug. There are currently 140 million adult Americans with a BMI over 27. If you use those same numbers, the math translates into a $126 billion addressable market. That's an iPhone, folks, right? So the potential of obesity to transform pharma, we have not even seen. And I have other stats here about people's willingness to pay out of pocket and sort of how it evolves. So where are the business opportunities for this sector? Second tier GLP-1s that can beat the current generic semaglutide, muscle enhancing weight drugs that are in development, consumer marketed drugs that already exist, better OTC options. And again, this is all consumer and not payer, which is a fundamental shift in healthcare. The larger opportunity is creating that different kind of company. So advocated by him and hers, it's customized care, physician-driven, consumer-facing, changing the way a healthcare company works. An interesting...
When you say consumer, do you mean non-insurance paying?
A lot of this is, right? Because, so for example, hims and hers charges $200 a month. People do Botox for $140 a month.
I'm saying so there's not insurance paying.
Yeah, no, insurance will cover it, but a lot of insurance doesn't right now. And people are willing. So if you survey people, I think you'll find that. So for example, I'll put this chart up to answer your question. So these are the people that are tracking right now. So 80% of people that are on a GLP-1 drug got it from a doctor. Of that percentage, probably 70% are getting reimbursed from their primary insurance carrier. The rest of it is all cash pay. And they're getting it from other sources outside of their doctor. They're getting it from an online provider, a website, a med spa, somewhere else. Those numbers are expanding every day. There's also a shortage, as you know. So the market for compounded semaglutide is exploding as well. Yep.
So just to reframe it, Marty, the valuations of this class now outperforms LVMH, the #1 luxury market. So it's changed, it really changes categories because being fit has become the ultimate luxury. So it's crossed over into.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's going to be a backlash there, really, so backlash against big pharma, but I understand the consumer aspect of it. In terms of payers, there's a limited pool that can pay for it. Until insurance pays for it.
I think you'll find the market's bigger than that. I hear you that there's a limited pool, but it's not even close to being tapped yet. So
It's not close to
being tapped and utilized yet. I mean, let's do a survey here. I don't know if people are gonna, be honest here. How many people are on currently a GLP-1 or something? Show of hands.
I think a better web survey is who knows somebody who's on it.
Okay. How many people know of more than 2 people on a GLP-1? Okay. That's a third of this market. That's a third. So.
Oh, right, but that's just not a good example of group because we're all high paid.
Well, but there's 140 million people in this country alone with a BMI greater than 27. Half of those people will be type 2 diabetic, and type 2 diabetics are covered under Medicare and primary insurance. And they're not being diagnosed, and there's no drug supply. So this just started.
I think it's a great opportunity. As a matter of fact, we spoke about GLP-1s in Austin, Texas 2 years
Huh?
ago, and the guy shrugged it. They just, nothing. And then it became the biggest thing since sliced bread. Right?
Yeah, people are awfully wrong a lot, including myself. But, but this, I think this also talks about sort of where we are. So in terms of a GDP contribution of healthcare, it's far greater than tech, but take a look at this chart here. So this is the top 5 companies in terms of enterprise value in tech versus the top 5 companies of healthcare. So there's a lot of room there, and the GDP contribution doesn't match where the companies are, just to counteract your point, right?
I'm sorry, you're saying that there's gonna be a healthcare company as big as Apple?
So if you listen to, Anderson Horowitz, right, and Daisy Wolf and Julie Yu, and Bob Nelson from Arch Ventures. So if you talk to Bob and you talk to Anderson Horowitz, their prediction will be the largest company in the world will be a consumer-facing healthcare company that will eclipse all technology companies. That's their prediction.
I disagree with that.
Including the digital.
Yes.
Since healthcare is so different outside the United States, right? The global tech companies face the whole world, whereas all healthcare pricing declines dramatically outside the US. But I mean, look at the cost of MRI in the US and go to like Turkey or Costa Rica or Panama, MRI is like $30.
I think the vision, just to play devil's advocate, I think the vision that Kleiner Perkins and Arch and other venture capital firms have is that healthcare companies are not a single thing in the future. They are everything in your life, right? They are managing your day-to-day. They are managing your behavior. They are managing sort of, everything. So that evolution to consumer facing and population, that's how you get to that market size. Again, that's what they're saying. It's not what I'm saying. Yep.
Look at the comparison of what's going on in the world versus what's going on in the United States. And the reference to healthcare. You've got to compare the technology that we have and the quickness at which we address the healthcare problem in this country.
Mhm.
The rest of the world.
Yeah.
We'll spend 6 months
Right.
with cancer before somebody looks at it.
Right.
So you can't compare the cost factor here and the cost factor there. The cost factor may be low, but you might be dead by the time you get treated.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. They're different animals, but what technology and AI are intending to do is level the playing field, right? Is so that when you go to a hospital in Canada in the future, you're not getting that result. You're getting a diagnosis, right? And everything is integrated in the future.
You know what's really interesting is that ChatGPT usage has declined by 90% since it reaches.
Yeah, because I think, again, what these venture firms would tell you is that ChatGPT is not, is more of a gamified toy function than an actual AI application. And so what they're talking about here is a fundamental approach to the way business is done. And it's not, I don't think ChatGPT is taken seriously as an AI tool at this point. No. It's not a business tool. It's not.
But it is an AI tool.
It's an AI tool, but I think it's a stage 1 of AI, and it's not a fully integrated disruptive technology. I don't think many people would call ChatGPT. They would say it's useful, right, and helpful, but it's not fundamentally changing the way life functions.
Which, I mean, in R&D, it's absolutely.
Yeah, it's a foundational AI for like all kinds of repurposing.
But it's a good concept.
It's
like
doing software testing, coding.
I mean, what about AI? Plus, what about all the AI that came out of IBM before? Was that AI or not?
Yeah.
These are beginning, sorry, I'll take another question.
These are tools, not applications.
Right, that's right. Mhm. Mhm. What do I think the impact of?
healthcare side, because I think AI is generative AI is viewed as just another agent, another person.
Yeah.
Another potential risk in the company.
Well, that's what we're talking about, right? Is once the technology advances and is validated, it doesn't become a tool. It becomes the primary vehicle to provide care outside of very specialized, outside of very specialized elements, right? So most diseases that you come in, they follow a set of rules, right? You have temperature, you have, a white blood cell count that's up, you have all these things. This is what a doctor does, right? A doctor is doing what an AI would do, right? So you put that AI front and center, and that becomes the primary tool as the first, not only diagnosis, but the AI runs preventative healthcare, which is grossly underdone in this country and many countries too. Sorry. Yep. Please.
ChatGPT or any other technology.
Yep.
You have to evaluate the effectiveness of that technology. If we're talking about using it as an AI tool to develop something, that's fine.
Yeah.
What percentage value is that adding to that development? That's the issue. If it's 90% effective, then it's a very good tool.
Mhm.
If it's adding only 20% value, then it's not as good. There have to be other tools applied in order to develop the technology that you want to use it for.
Yeah,
That's being used for. So everything is a relative case.
Right.
Yeah, it could be used for certain purposes. To what extent, what value are you getting out of that? 20%, 10%, 50%, 80%? Big difference.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is not a ChatGPT function. What we're talking about is a fundamental shift in the way healthcare is managed and delivered, right? Integrated throughout the entire system. So what happens is you eliminate people all over the place, right? You eliminate people in back office. You do analytics on how things are being billed and what services are being provided so that you can predict better health outcomes. You move more towards value-based care, which is what almost every healthcare organization is doing, United Healthcare, Optum, in which you're being paid and compensated for actually keeping patients alive, which is a fundamental difference than fee for service. So the AI generates that capability in not only diagnosis, but administrative functions, fully integrated services, follow-up, and puts the people where they need to be.
We're about 5 minutes over.
Okay.
We're about 5 minutes over, but I'm gonna give you another 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'm in agreement with your thesis that there's all kinds of private equity opportunities for healthcare. I'm not in agreement with a lot of these statements made by venture capitalists, which are way out there.
Yeah, sure.
Just to add to that, with AI, it drastically reduces the cost of healthcare. It increases the accuracy. So on different levels. So on the back end, like in terms of diagnosis, there's this huge expediting aspect that goes on in the back end, and then there's so many different forms of it. But for instance, there's sort of a smart function that layers on radiology or sonograms, things like that. So it has a much higher level of accuracy.
Yeah.
So I own a concierge medical practice.
Yeah.
And there's a doctor, and I think with radiology, today the way radiology is done is that the scans are sent out to India, and a doctor in India reviews the scans, and it's at least in New York State, and then has to send them back to a licensed physician in New York State, a radiologist. And then they take the 10% most difficult ones, review all those, let the other ones go by, trusting in the expertise of the Indian radiologist. So I don't think it's going to change the workflow at all. All that's going to happen is India's going to go away, and they're going to be replaced by the AI. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the doctors, because once the AI makes a mistake, then the doctor will be sued. Right?
It's unclear.
No, I think
Yeah.
it's pretty clear. You're using a tool, and you trust it more than you trust your own education.
To be honest with you, Marty, the error rate of doctors reading them.
It's very high. Very high.
So, so every time you hear this
my insurance side.
Every time you hear this conversation, it's so interesting because somehow the human becomes this like all-knowing font of knowledge when truly the error rate among human physicians, surgery and medicine is much higher.
Humans are 2 sigma, 3 sigma. I
Yeah,
understand
and
that.
so we're
And
looking
humans
at this,
don't wanna cover it up.
how do we make, you know,
I think it's a
hopefully
matter of
eventually better
accountability
decisions.
Right.
And how do we do it better in those cases where we need to get help?
Right, so-
Right, and that's, Robin is a very good point. So that's what this does. It puts the doctors where they're needed as opposed to where they're not needed. It puts the nurses where they're needed, right? There are functions that are extraordinarily inefficient, and frankly, there are too few doctors and nurses to handle patient load, right?
To be honest with you, that's the complaint of nurses.
Right.
Why am I doing this? Why am I emptying the trash?
Yeah.
When I have this degree that could save a lot. So there's a lot of merit.
Yeah, and there's everything from medical supply usage, right, to, are we dosing this patient properly? Let's run it through, maybe we can eliminate, maybe we can clear this bed. There's lots of things that, and the incentives, right, and the incentives are perverse, right? The AI doesn't have an incentive for fee for service.
Or they don't get mad or angry.
Yeah, I mean, at this version, until it takes over, yes. Yeah.
You haven't mentioned blockchain at all.
Yeah, I had 20 minutes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it's important, but I didn't even get the value-based care. Marty was right. My presentation was too long. But no, it is important. It is an element. I tried to just sort of do the highlight here. Yeah.
I think it's extremely thought-provoking.
Thank you.
And hopefully we get you to come back sometime soon, but, and with a shorter presentation, so we can just get on the salient points and
Yeah,
talk about
this
what you
was-
guys do.
This was last minute. Sorry.
Yeah. But actually, it's very thought-provoking, and we're involved with, Stand to Cancer and with every cure, who are kind of leaders in the AI diagnostic space right now, right? So I think it's great, and thanks so much.